two, one. Okay. Ben Kendrick, how is it going?
Oh, pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just for you listeners, if you're watching, this is one of the early Fungi Flora podcasts that I'm revamping. And Ben Kendrick, it will be the first guest on my podcast in a couple years since I've put a pause on this project. But we're just gonna chat casually about fungi. I met Ben Kendrick on Twitter. He was sort of just doing his mushroom thing, posting about mushrooms and trying to get IDs, requesting IDs. So I was like, hey, I'll follow that guy. And we sort of just chatted back and forth until I was like, hey, let's do a podcast. So that's why we're here. That's what we're here to do today. And if you want to go ahead and let everyone know where you're from, what's your name, and how you got into mushrooms.
Yeah, my name's Ben Kendrick. I live in Cumberland County, Nova Scotia. I basically got into mushrooms from watching the Joe Rogan Experience a couple years ago. I think a lot of people can say the same. The Paul Stamets episode, obviously. Um, uh, just by chance, one day I was watching the Paul Stamets episode, and they were talking about lion's mane, and it kind of blew my mind about all the Alzheimer's research. And within a couple of days of seeing that episode, I ended up just seeing the first lion's mane I had ever seen in my life, just on a tree on a walk that day, and
So cool.
it just kind of solidified everything for me and made it seem more real.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I do recall, like, it really takes just one kind of spark of interest for you to go down the like Shroomer rabbit hole. And for you, it was the lion's mane mushroom that you heard about on Paul Stamets' podcast with Joe Rogan. And for me, it was sort of the psychedelic mushrooms. I had tried some mushrooms at a party one time, which I do not recommend that context for.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Yeah, it's not a party drug, but anyways, it sort of got me interested in mushrooms in general. And then I realized that in my home state of Georgia in the United States, there actually grew a local native psilocybe species called psilocybe. We call it Wiley, but that's not a real like taxon. It's psilocybe cerulescens or caerulescens, which is actually
that's like one of the strongest in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like fourth strongest or something like that.
Okay.
But I was just super stoked to find out that it is a local psilocybe that does not grow on cow poop, because that's the first question that everybody has. Is
wow.
It's a wood lover. Yeah, it's a wood lover. I mean, most psilocybes are actually wood lovers, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I always considered them like a field mushroom or whatever, but I've never really done too much research on them.
Right. Yeah. So I went down that rabbit hole until I actually found some, and it was just like that little moment where you actually find that mushroom that you just learned about, and then it's like it becomes a real experience for the observer. And I think that's what really, to get into mushrooms or anything else really, it takes that personal experience, that magical moment where you're just like, man, this is cool. I can just walk outside and find medicine, food, spiritual medicine, whatever.
Yeah, that's a big part of it for me too, is just the idea that there's all this food just sitting out there waiting for you in the woods. And with a lot of like plants, if you were to want to eat them, you might have to be a bit more careful about hurting them or damaging the roots or something like that. But you still don't want to hurt the mycelium with a mushroom, but they're a lot more tolerant to it, and you could kick the mushroom over and it would still regrow or whatever, and it wouldn't really be hurting anything. And I think that kind of gives you a lot of freedom as an amateur to.
Yeah, so that's actually.
It's more personal responsibility than like ecological responsibility with that, I find.
Yeah. So I definitely I actually wrote a blog post called "How to Pick Mushrooms Correctly," and it's that phrasing is sort of a trap, because there actually is not really a correct way to pick them. There's just every once in a while you get the same topics being brought up on the mushroom forums and Facebook and whatnot, and it's like, hey, how dare you pull that mushroom out of the ground without cutting it? And it's like, guys, it's not really a big deal. And there's actually been like big macro studies done on like chanterelles and their like mycelium network over the course of years of just picking and not cutting. It does not affect the mycelium. Like the mycelium and the mushrooms are going to survive. They're super resilient. And go ahead.
Oh, I only had an assumption on how that would work, honestly. I figured that you might have like a 5% more damage sort of thing where you are ripping a little bit of mycelium, but it wouldn't be enough to really hurt the thing overall.
Yeah.
It would still be like 90% intact every time.
So yeah, if I stumble across like a mushroom patch that I would actually like to stay there, you know, because they do need to drop spores, and I think some of the mushroom fruiting body actually might be taken back by the mycelium, at least a portion of it. I think I could be wrong about that, but I
I feel
still
like I've heard of that happening, but that's vague for me too.
yeah, I think I saw a Paul Stamets video one time where he actually had a time lapse shot of a mushroom fruiting life cycle from until it rotted away, and he mentioned towards the end of its life cycle how some mycelium left over would retract back into the dirt. I'm gonna go dig that up because I actually need to be sure about that.
Okay. I'm thinking slime molds do something similar to that too. They kind of reanimate themselves and recycle themselves quite often.
I'm just taking a note of that. Yeah, that's interesting. Slime molds, I haven't really got into too much, but I might know a person or two I should probably do a podcast with just on slime molds. But yeah, oh, go ahead.
That's something that I always come up just via proxy. I don't really have that much of an interest, particularly in slime molds. But a lot of times when people are asking, "Hey, what's this fungus?" and it's like, "Oh, fun fact, that's not a fungus," and and then I might not know which kind it is, but I'll tell them it's a slime mold or whatever.
Yeah, I have stumbled upon the dog's vomit. They call it dog's vomit. That yellow slime mold.
Fuligo septica is that one.
Fuligo, yeah. There we go. And as well as the wolf's milk, that like pinkish slime mold. Do you know
that one's really fun? Yeah.
Do you know the Latin name? Do you know the Latin name?
Lycogala epidendron.
There you go. I remember the lyco part because there's like the wolf part, lycanthropy, lyco, wolf. I forget why it's named that, but
that is a good question. Do wolves have pink milk? I think hippos do or something, but
yeah, I don't think so. That's worth looking into.
Yeah.
But one of our topics was actually, you know, the Paul Stamets episode that got you into mushrooms, and I kind of wanted to expand on that a bit. That was when that happened, the first Paul Stamets episode.
Yeah.
That was record breaking for Joe Rogan's podcast. Like
Paul,
yeah, it was one of his biggest podcasts next to Elon Musk and maybe one or two others. But yeah, it was like millions and millions of views in like a day or two. And I'm sure it turned on a lot of people to the world of mushrooms. Like that was one of the best platforms I think Paul Stamets could have had to get the word out about the world of mycology and fungus and mycelium.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't realize that it was that well received, but considering all the different guests that he has on that show, for the mycologist to do so well, that's really it makes me happy anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me happy too because actually there is a part of that episode that really confounded me. He was about to start bringing up like a farming practice of some choice edible, but he was like, I'm not allowed to talk about it. And I was like, wait, what are you talking about that you are under oath not to disclose? Like,
I feel like I've half heard of what he's talking about there. Do you know what he was talking about?
I looked into it, and I found like almost no information. Like I felt like I had to go do the research and write the blog post about it. But I think it was like some proprietary like farming practice or something about the toxicity of the mushroom.
I think that's what I heard, was about something toxicity related. The conspiracy theory approach to what was going on in that conversation is that there is a healthy mushroom market that doesn't want the negative health aspects to get out there. There's some sort of jet fuel that naturally occurs in one of these mushrooms. I think it was shiitake, and they apparently that's a big deal. But I don't know if that actually was just the conspiracy end of the comment section or if that was reality. It seemed like a logical thing. You would think a health food market would want to stay seen as a health food.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I do know about the it's like citruzylazine or something. That's like the rocket fuel.
I think that might have been it.
molecule. I probably got butchered that name, but
Mm.
there's more than one mushroom that might actually contain it. I think the gyromitra might actually contain it. The
That too, I think.
false morels or whatever. That
Hmm.
is worth looking into because that always just mystified me. I was just like, is Paul Stamets working with like a government or agency right now to just like come up with some super cool mushroom technology eventually? I don't
I
know.
think he actually is in a different way though.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
he's got projects that are super innovative.
yeah, it's like I think it's just working on immune defense strategies or something with like some sort of government agency. I'm not sure what it is, but they're definitely taking his medicine seriously and his effect on bees.
Yeah, so he's got the bees going. He's trying to set up a network of bee feeders that are Wi-Fi connected or internet capable, so they can send the data back to um, some database so that we can learn about the bees and try to save them. I think it's fucking brilliant. But
Yeah.
he also had, I mean, he's got his supplement company, his mushroom supplements,
Hmm.
and his latest shindig is the lion's mane plus niacin plus psilocybin as a
Hmm.
way to encourage uh, neuronal growth or growth
Hmm.
of like your nerve endings and brain tissues, which
Hmm.
is crazy because the niacin plus the lion's mane already does that. Lion's mane is already known to encourage like neuron growth, but
Hmm.
he's actually multiplied it with a psilocybin mixture, and he says it's even far better in that sense.
Yeah, if
Like,
they all have their own different way that they're neurogenic, then perhaps it would just be like throwing multiple rocks and hoping that one of them works or something like that. Like maybe it works better that way instead of just having the same strategy for one drug.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
and then it's like you can't really put psilocybin into a capsule legally. So he was talking about just the lion's mane plus vitamin B12 for now or niacin.
Hmm.
Um, but maybe down the line, because isn't Oregon or Colorado in the middle of legalizing magic mushrooms,
I think it's
decriminalized,
it might be Oregon. I think you're right on that one.
or they're working on it or something? It's coming down the
Mm.
pipeline, which is great because the world has rediscovered marijuana, hemp, CBD,
Mm.
and I honestly thought I wouldn't see it for another few more years.
Hmm.
But I think now people are more comfortable because for me, when I first smoked weed, I was like, wait, I've been lied to my entire life. Like, this
I,
is not anything like they said it was.
yeah, it wasn't like a sudden shift in your life or anything like that.
I mean, it's
Or
it's
for
I'm
most
not
people.
yeah, I'm not going out smoking like robbing banks and just plundering and just getting sedated. Well, maybe a little bit. All you really do
Yeah.
is fall asleep and eat food and feel
Mm.
okay. But so that's partially what allowed me to learn about mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms, because I'm like, man, what other drugs have they
Mm.
lied to me about? So um, that was my story on that. But what were we talking about? Decriminalization.
Yeah, just we were talking about which state might be decrimming or legalizing or one or the other. I'm not sure.
I sort of went on a tangent. I'm gonna try to get better at that. But yeah, Paul Stamets. Everybody here needs to go watch the Joe Rogan podcast. He's got two now. Paul Stamets came back on the show because there was a hashtag trending, "Bring Paul Stamets back." I guess people really like that. But
Yeah, I definitely left a lot of comments on the YouTube page. I think just for fun, just because the meme was already going. Like every time he'd bring a new guest on, I'd say, "Oh, is the next one Paul Stamets?" And just like kept doing that in every video. Eventually, it worked.
nice, hell yeah, it did work. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
can't take personal responsibility, but as a community.
yeah, yeah, for sure. You did your part. So
Mm.
I have here Paul Stamets slash National Defense. We talked about it the other day that I think the best position I've seen in terms of like trying to preserve biodiversity and preserve the old growth forests and whatnot is in the sense of national defense. Like we're the
Mm.
profit driven motive is not going to be like it's not going to be utilized and when we're trying to save the environment or
Mm.
preserve biodiversity. I like the way he says it's like, look, it's so biodiverse. There are unknown medicines. There's so much potential there that we can't just be mowing down the Amazon to start growing one type of crop. Like, it's just insanity.
It is.
When the sloths that hang out in trees, their fur has actually been found to be this tiny little micro ecosystem of
Doesn't it have a bunch of antibiotics in there and stuff too?
I heard about that, but just like algae and like different kinds of life forms all exist on the sloth. And it's just like, if we're going to be mowing down their home, like, it's just insane. So I did want to go over that. I think the national defense narrative is really strong. Do you know?
I think that is the strongest argument we have for that sort of stuff, because like I always think, well, growing up, you'd always hear about plant medicine and all this stuff, and you get an idea that plants are somehow different than everything else or something like that. But there's just, the more we look into fungi or fungus, I don't never know how to pronounce it. There's 4 ways. The more we look into that, it just seems like there's countless medicines there, and people never even, well, there might be reishi or something that people have been using for a few hundred years, but there's really only a handful that people have utilized so far. But if you look in the grocery store, there's 150 types of plants or something in there. Like, there's just so much more utilization with the other kingdom of life. I don't think it'll ever be 50-50, but we need to put the effort a little bit more on par, I think, and realize that fungal medicine is just as important as plant medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there aren't a whole lot of natural plants that are known to combat Alzheimer's. It's really a mushroom that is at the forefront of that research, the lion's mane mushroom. And it supposedly tastes like shrimp or like fishy. Can you confirm that?
So that was the first mushroom I found, and I was told too scared to eat it. But I did sniff it, and it did smell a bit like seafood.
Interesting.
But I didn't actually like bite it, so I'm not sure. But I haven't found a single other lion's mane since that one like a year and a half ago. So I got lucky that day.
Yeah, I had tried lion's mane mushroom once at one of the first Georgia mushroom festivals that was put on. Shout out to Claudia Luttrell for completely organizing that nearly single-handedly. She was amazing.
Sounds like a big task.
Yeah, because it was a brand new festival she put on. But we actually I found a tiny little lion's mane mushroom about that big on that day. But I had a friend who came to the festival who was selling shiitake mushroom logs, but he also was frying up some lion's mane of his own that he had found previously, and he let me try it. And it was fried, so I couldn't really get the seafoody type of flavor, but it was good.
Yeah,
fried mushrooms are good.
Yeah, I definitely would do the popcorn lion's mane or whatever people do. That would get. Did it crisp up really nice, or did you get like an inside piece of the lion's mane, or like the hairy end of the lion's mane, or?
I think I got more of the inside fleshy part.
Okay, I'm always curious how much the tendrils will like crisp up when you fry them.
You know, that sounds delicious now that you bring it up like that.
Yeah.
But so just a little quickie. I had to blow my nose. I'm about to blow my nose, but there's a reason why. I got a COVID-19 test yesterday. I had cotton swabs inserted into my sinus for 5 seconds each. And I've got a really sensitive upper respiratory. I've got chronic asthma, and whenever my sinuses get messed with, like, I'm just leaky and stuffy for days. So that was yesterday. I'm still sort of suffering. I'm going to blow my nose and mute it for a second. So give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, quick and painless.
Yeah.
Yeah, so speaking of the virus, we can talk about the virus.
I think everyone talks about the virus. We can totally do that too.
We can do it. So I actually sent out an email to my mushroom list about a couple weeks ago, talking about the virus, how I believe, I think we're in a moment of change for sure. It's inspired me to pick up this podcast that I've always wanted to do. Like, this is a labor of love. I just love mushrooms and I'm fascinated by it. And I believe mushroom identification is a skill that could really empower you in times of crisis. And I'm not trying to be a doomer and say that all of a sudden you need to just go start learning how to hunt and forage and identify plants and stuff. I'm just saying it's a useful skill in terms of self-sufficiency. I believe in being self-sufficient. I think everybody needs to have their own business. You know, I think the internet makes anything accessible to anybody. There's a reason why the mainstream, I mean, we had TV, but the internet literally took broadcasting into the power of individuals. So I believe, I'm of the opinion that nobody has an excuse to go and build something that they want to, in whatever you're interested in. I think everybody has a responsibility to go and just put yourself out there and build something. But so for me, I feel like I can share to the world my 2 cents on mushrooms, mushroom identification, what mushrooms have done for me spiritually, in terms of the psychedelic mushrooms. And so that was my little coronavirus like email that I sent out. I live in Georgia, where the whole rest of the country is laughing at our governor, who just reopened the economy a couple days ago. And within 24 hours, we had 1,000 new cases of the virus. And it's like, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I think Saskatchewan just sort of did that a couple days ago in Canada. I think it was sometime this week, and I think they've gotten 300 new cases or so since they've opened. Or I don't know the exact number, but the graph looked really bad that I saw this morning.
The graphs look bad for sure. I'm pretty sure I've actually had the virus. I was like, I was super sick, no fevers or aches, but I did wake up a couple times like in my own sweat, as if I had a fever, as if I was sweating it out. I had a big old lump in my throat, a tightness in my chest that was very unusual, not like my normal asthma. And there are people that I've met with physically, I've been around physically. One of them's an older woman, and she was like incapacitated for weeks with fevers and aches. So I'm pretty sure I had it with mild symptoms, probably because I'm young. But she was older, and she definitely had a harder time. And there's another guy I've been around who actually got a test with like a 60% failure rate for those tests. So
seriously?
Even
That's
though
a big failure rate.
Yeah, even though it came out negative, he still was like, I'm pretty sure I've had COVID, because he was bedridden, fevers and aches, hard to breathe, the whole nine.
I think I only know 2 people in my personal life that have gotten the test so far, but they're both negative too, so they kind of got lucky.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
They were also kind of feeling sick when they got tested too, so they were a little bit, they were a bit more in panic mode, I think, though, because they're older.
Yeah, gotcha. It did freak me out in the beginning because I do have chronic upper respiratory issues.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, I guess you don't have to be old.
Yeah, I mean, I was freaked out like the
I'm
rest.
bad for forgetting that.
But I guess I thought the cotton swab test is can it tell if you've had it before, like you have the antibodies, or is it just if you have it now?
I'm honestly not sure. I think there's at least 2 or 3 tests going around. There's a really quick test that's like 5 minutes, and I think it originates in Canada, the company that makes it, but they don't have it approved in Canada. So it's like, I think only being done in the States, the really quick, like 5-minute tests. The ones we do, I think, take like an hour or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I was told that this was an antibody test, but after I got there, I think it was, I'm not sure what kind of test results I'm going to get back, but do you have anything to add about the virus or your experiences, or before we get back to mushrooms?
No, I'm definitely seeing a lot of conflicting information though today. I saw one news report that said that it showed that it was slowing down with its mutation abilities. And then the very next article after it said that it is mutating even faster than it was before. So I didn't actually read either article. I just saw 2 completely opposite headlines, and I was like, no, I'll just wait a day.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I mean, we live in the world of fake news, or it's not fake news. It's just publications.
Too much opinion.
Publications that you have to learn the incentive structure that surrounds that publication. And it's not like fake. Like the way the American president twisted that when the phrase fake news came out, he kind of just took it and ran with it and spun it and made it his own thing. But what it was describing was just the the problem that we have of just conflicting data sources, and then trusting those data sources is really hard. It's just like, well, if you have bad data, then there's bad data in, bad data out. So it's a tough world to be in.
It is.
So I guess that's the virus for now. So I have some notes here. We can talk about Canadian mushroomers. What's the mushrooming community like out there? Is it big, small?
I think the majority of it's probably based around British Columbia, or that's kind of the idea that people out east have. I think there definitely is like a Nova Scotia Mycological Association, and there's an Alison Walker on Twitter that she's a actual mycology professor at Acadia University. So I would call her potentially the most qualified mycologist in the province.
What's her name or Twitter handle? Either or.
Alison Walker.
Alison Walker.
Yeah. Cool. And there's also been another really great guy called Alfredo Justo. I might be pronouncing the last name wrong. It might be a silent J. He runs I believe it's the fungi and plant department at the New Brunswick Museum, and he's helped me with a few IDs.
Cool.
So there definitely is some community. It's just a matter of kind of joining the community and figuring out where it is and who's who.
Gotcha. Yeah, I completely agree. I know we're a rather small group of people anyways. So it's nice to get some names and follow people and get involved. I mean, I'm not really too involved with my local mycological club, and I could be. So I'm sort of a hypocrite when it comes to this, but I think people should engage and get involved and support the mushroom community by getting out there, showing face, contributing whatever information or knowledge you have. We should all do that. There's actually, well, yeah, it'd be different for you, but were you about to say something?
I think there's a lot of room for leadership in the mycological community because there's so many different little areas that have their own lists of species or mushrooms associated with that area that unless you have someone in your own state or your own province to tell you what grows here, sometimes it's almost a little bit tough to find your own information. So you almost have to, I don't know, be the leader for your community and try to figure this stuff out.
I like that a lot. I mean, what inspired me to like start putting myself out there in terms of fungi flora, my little project, was that it just like all the mushroom resources online are pretty dated. And I'm not, my website or blog is not really too technical. I try to make it really easy for like the average reader. But yeah, I sort of wanted to kind of bring back like a fresh content stream of mycological related substance. So yeah, be a leader, people. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. This is also what I was speaking about earlier about utilizing the resources you have. Like we all have phones with technologies in it that are far superior than the technology that we use to go to the moon in or whatever. Like it's all inside your pocket. Any question, like Google is the single best tool to humanity, even though it is a private corporation. I think that's going to change down the line, but it is the number one resource. Like you have no excuse for not knowing anything. Like any question you have,
you just have to have the habit to know to Google everything that you have a question for.
Yeah. I mean, it's still like I find myself like deliberating with my buddies on something we're not sure of, and it's like, oh well, let's go consult the magic oracle in our pocket, called Google. Like I like calling it the oracle because it literally is that. Like any data. Oh yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that. How did we get here? Oh yeah,
you keep talking about resources in the area, I think. And,
yeah.
I think one thing I could bring up is that you don't really necessarily have to have the best like source for your data. Like the one that I've been using, there's been a list of mushrooms for Nova Scotia, but it's all from 2008 to 2011 from the Nova Scotia Mycological Society, but I don't think they've actually compiled a list since then. So a lot of the names are actually kind of out of date, and I've been having to learn about taxonomic revisions just because of the old names that they used, and there's definitely a lot of that still.
Yeah, so I discovered a tool from somebody on Facebook. I forgot who showed it to me, but to keep up with the latest like Latin binomials, the taxonomy, there's a
Mhm.
resource called the Index Fungorum. If you Google Index Fungorum, it'll show you the latest like uh, Latin names that are being used for species. I don't know. There's like a board or something of people like mycologists who decide on the most recent names, and
Mhm.
so that's a really good resource for anybody out there who wants to.
Okay. Does it have like a homepage with all just like this week's new changes or anything, or?
No, it's actually an extremely dated site. It looks like a site from the 90s. Terrible navigation, in my opinion.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so you might have to, maybe dig a little bit to like find a search engine on the site and type in your mushroom name, and then it'll come up with synonyms and the most recent name change or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. Um, Another thing about that, guys, there's no correct way to pronounce Latin. Everybody pronounces it differently. It is a dead
Mhm.
language, so they're like what is true and not true is really subjective. And mushrooms, since their names, a lot of them, the names change all the time. So if somebody just refers to a mushroom, but it's not the latest taxonomical name, like don't be a smarty pants and start a pissing contest because it's actually synonymous. It's the same mushroom you're referring to, just maybe a different name that was used 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, that's happened to me a few times already. Just in the 2 years, I've been getting used to this stuff. Like, there's a stick in my backyard that I've been growing cinnabar polypores on, and that changed from Pycnoporus cinnabrinus to Trametes cinnabrina in like the last 6 months or so, apparently, according to INAT. And that,
Oh, it's a Trametes now.
yeah, apparently.
I'm actually writing a blog post on orange mushrooms, just orange mushrooms, and I chose that one, and um, I use the word Pycnoporus, the name Pycnoporus, so I have to go change it.
Oh, okay. How long ago was that?
I haven't actually. I'm still working on it.
Oh, perfect timing.
Yeah, so like it's time to I guess go back and check the Index Fungorum for the latest
Okay.
names. Um, you have something to say?
Yeah, one more thing. Do you happen to know, there's a mushroom called Xerula furfuraceae?
Dude, I swear I just found a Xerula or a Xeruloid mushroom in my backyard just yesterday.
Nice.
Xerula for
Because that's what it's listed as on my information sheet, but I think it might have changed to like Odmanziella or something like that, but I'm not quite sure.
that sounds hella familiar. And I think these mushrooms are pretty tough to identify in general because I think a lot of them look this similar but
Hmm.
are genetically different still. Um, yeah, man. I guess after this, I'm gonna send you the mushroom I found in my backyard. The ones with like the stem, the root. It has like a root on its stem.
That might be Megacalibia. Um, but I've never really taken one of those out of the ground. I've taken a Megacalibia out of the ground, but I've never taken one of them. Uh,
Okay.
Actually, yeah, I think they do have a root, actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually share my screen
Yeah, sure.
real quick.
They tend to have like a wrinkly looking cap that's kind of distinctive in a way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna press share screen, and I can choose which screen to share. Here we go. Yeah, this is
Yeah, that's the one.
yeah. Look at that stem. Holy crap, that is quite the root. That's not like the one I found, but
Oh, wow.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm seeing Hymenopellis, Xerula, and Odmanziella when I look up this mushroom, and I'm not. There's like three names that I'm digging through now, and I don't know which one's which.
Right, and I was saying these are not easy to fucking identify.
No.
So, but I definitely found one. I'm gonna send you a. I don't think I uploaded the picture yet that I took yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm gonna do it
I
now.
don't think
And I
so.
can't believe you brought up this mushroom. What made you bring it up?
Just talking about taxonomic revisions, because I was just curious if you happen to know which way that one went. Because it seemed like from between 2010 to maybe 2018, it might have went from Hymen or Xerula to Hymenopellus, but then when I um, uploaded one to INAT, then they told me it was Oatmanziella. So then now I'm like, there's so many choices I don't know anymore.
And I'm sure there's going to be that guy that's
Yeah.
like,
and they all have the same species name too, of course, just to make it more complicated. They're all for ACA.
oh yeah, that's just it's not easy, man.
No.
The best way here, let me just share this. The best thing you can do is gene sequencing, and I would actually recall Alan Rockefeller showing on Facebook how for $1,000 you can get your own CRISPR unit and start like extracting genes from organic substances and sequencing them yourselves and actually comparing it against the genetic sequences on an open source database. So there's a database of the like some genomes, like fungal genomes, that you can go and just compare the gene sequence to and see where it would be placed on the phylogenetic tree. Super cool shit. For $1,000 you can be gene sequencing your own. I still have yet to go down that project, but it's possible for $1,000.
That's incredible. Definitely send me a link if you can after we're done.
Yeah, I'll try to find some. I mean, I might have to just personally hit up Alan and be like, yo, what was that?
Definitely don't have $1,000, but when I have $1,000, that will probably be what I have to spend it on.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a fun toy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna share my screen one more time because this is the actual mushroom that grew in my backyard. Just the other day. There's that wrinkle cap you're talking about.
Yeah.
And
I think that's more indicative of like the family of mushrooms.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like Physalocraceae or something.
Okay.
So maybe that's might be where I'm getting confused.
So I picked this yesterday and then I just left it and it dropped white spores. So you can see there.
Okay. Yeah.
There's just another gill shot. It's a beautiful mushroom.
It is.
And you can see the beginnings of a root, but I didn't really pull it out of the ground. I basically ripped part of the root off because I went back and pulled back the dirt and the root part was left in. So you can see it's sort of getting elongated at the bottom, but I didn't uproot it correctly.
I will have to bring a little hand shovel or something from like gardening for next year because
yeah, I should probably do that. Yeah, I mean, it'd be fun to try to get this identified. If you know anybody who's into Xerula, Megacolibia, Manciella, I don't know. Who's the expert?
Well, I can rule out Megacolibia, but that's about it.
Yeah. Fun. That'll be fun to try to identify. All right. Mushroom distractions. Where were we at? Yeah, you asked me about that mushroom because it's so hard.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious if you happen to know where it's at taxonomically right now, but I don't even know which species I'm asking about, apparently.
Yeah. That's always fun. Okay, so what else we got here? How long have we been on? I was thinking about trying to keep it an hour or so.
Okay, I think it's been roughly 30 minutes-ish.
Cool. We still got some topics. Oh, you were mentioning the correct pronunciation of fungi or fungi. So
yeah.
It's in my opinion, any way is okay. I don't really care how people attempt to pronounce Latin because it just doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. But I think Paul Stamets said that fungi and fungi are basically acceptable. Same thing, acceptable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been going with fungi. That's been basically what I've been saying.
Yeah.
Or fungi sometimes, just whichever one sounds better with my username, Fungi with Benji.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was a fungi with Bengai.
I don't know. Either way, really.
Yeah.
I don't really go by Benji that often, so I won't be offended if you say Benji wrong.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's for hopefully that cleared it up for anybody watching this that did not know how to pronounce fungi.
I had a few questions on Twitter, so hopefully that does.
Yeah. I mean, it comes up every once in a while. You get the same questions.
Yeah.
I have here guided walks because I was thinking, I know you just sort of recently started trying to take people on some guided walks, and then the coronavirus hit. and everyone was
Yeah.
telling us not to get in large groups of people of 6 or more. So I
Yeah,
was
that
wondering if I know you just started it, but have you had, I was thinking there's nothing stopping us from going out with a group of 6 people and going mushrooming.
mhm. Um, I'm basically postponing it for like a month just to be extra safe or whatever, but I think I will end up doing it in June. Uh, I originally had it planned for May 16th, I believe. And it would have been a Saturday thing. So whatever is, say, 4 Saturdays after the 16th of May, we'll probably when I'll reschedule it too. I've
Gotcha.
only got about 3 people that are probably going to come, so it's not like I'm overcrowded.
Cool. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you just started, but I mean, as long as the word's getting out, and if
Hmm.
you'll get people.
Yeah.
Any listeners here in the Nova Scotia area, make sure to follow Ben on Twitter. I'll link it in the YouTube description because this is where it's
Hmm.
going to go. But I'll link your handle and everything. So follow Ben if you're in the Nova Scotia area trying to learn about
Hmm.
mushrooms. It's a great opportunity.
Yep. It's $15 a person, but I encourage people to bring their family members and stuff. If you have a kid with you, uh, it's $20 for the pair, basically. Um,
Cool.
and I go over trees, plants, and mushrooms, but I'm probably a little bit better with the mushrooms, honestly. But
Cool.
yeah.
Very cool. I should probably do my own guided walks too. What else do I got here? I got morel season, permaculture, health benefits of medicinal mushrooms, um, free associations. Let's go with permaculture.
Okay.
I did do a podcast with that girl. I think her name was Jasmine. Jasmine, if you're watching, I would love to do another podcast with you and seeing how your truffle orchard is going. She apparently was going to and from Italy, I think, and they were inoculating very young tree saplings, like fruit tree saplings, so that the um, basically when they go and set up their orchard, these trees are actually inoculated with truffle mushrooms, so that they could be farming truffle mushrooms and fruit at the same time, which is brilliant and probably lucrative. But
Yeah, it would take up no more space than doing it separately.
yeah, and that's the kind of, if any of you guys have heard of permaculture, or if this is your first time hearing about it, definitely look into it. It's like sort of like a living farming practice that was invented in the 70s by someone named Bill something. I forgot his name. But he came up with permaculture. He was friends with Buckminster Fuller, I'm pretty sure.
I think they might have gotten their idea originally from some certain Native American practices where they were growing corn with squash around it, I believe, and there might have been a third plant that was kind of a third symbiont. And
Gotcha.
I think one was nitrogen fixing, and then one of them kind of uses up a lot of nitrogen, and they kind of just traded back and forth.
See, that is awesome. That is the kind of sustainable living that I think the planet should be moving towards. Because with this virus, basically, it's proven that our global supply chains are weak. They're not robust enough to be able to survive shocks to the system like this virus did.
Mm-hmm.
So if, in my mind, it's just screaming how we need to get back to a way that is very permaculture like, or a way that is sustainable, where we're living in harmony with each other, but also our natural world. Like, I mean, to me there's no reason that our houses shouldn't be fixated with solar panels, because those have become super cheap now.
Yeah, at any time in the last 5 years would have been a good time to start, I think.
But permaculture gets into such fine-tuned ways, like the way you just described, how these two different crops are actually trading nitrogen back and forth with each other, and you can design that to happen instead of just mowing down a forest, planting one crop, not even considering how to replenish the soil nutrients after that crop, and it just
Mm-hmm.
destroys the topsoil, and you can't do anything with it after the fact. You have to just replenish it somehow. permaculture is a way to prevent that kind of thing from happening and actually have a sort of symbiosis going on with like if your farm was a permaculture farm, it's supposed to be in this like circulatory symbiotic state where your water is coming from here. Maybe you have your own like water wheel and you collect rainwater that goes to the corn crop, so the corns grow and their shadows cast down on another crop where this crop likes to be in shadowy, cooler places. And it's just, you can do so much with this kind of, it's actually a way of thinking, permaculture is. So I kind of just wanted to jump into there. We got here because of the truffle cultivation that Jazz.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a cash cow for whoever owns that orchard.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I mean, truffles are already some of the most lucrative things to go hunt for. There was like a record-breaking truffle a year or two ago, like thousands of dollars for like a French black truffle like this or something.
That's huge.
I know. Have you ever tasted one?
I haven't. I've looked it up, and we do have truffles around here, but they're not edible ones. They're those like deer truffles or whatever you call it.
Gotcha.
So I've never tried even looking for them.
We have a truffle around here too in the southeast that I guess commonly called pecan truffles, but I forget the Latin name. What is this? Anyways, they kind of they're not black. I'm gonna share my screen here. They still have the marbled texture inside, but they grow under pecan trees, but along with other like hardwoods. Here we go.
Okay, they almost look like potatoes on the outside, anyway.
Aren't they tubers, or the Latin is a tuber? Why can't I remember this? It's been a while. Yeah, tuber leonii. That is the pecan truffle.
That is an apt name.
Well, yeah, because aren't potatoes technically? Well, they are tubers. You call them tubers.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah, it definitely does look like a potato. I would love to try them one day. They're super expensive, but.
So you say they just grow on pecan trees?
Well, they're subterraneous, so they grow underneath the ground.
Or below pecan trees, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, below, and which is why they're so hard to find. I've always fantasized about getting I think I want a beagle one day, and I want to train this beagle to sniff out truffles, among other things. And you like the way you find mushroom or truffle mushrooms is you need a dog that's trained to sniff them, or a pig. But the problem with pigs is that they like to eat them before you can get to them.
Okay. And the dog just picks it up like a ball or something.
I mean, they're more obedient. They're not as. Actually, I don't want to call pigs dumb. I don't think they're dumb.
No.
They're definitely not dumb. I actually have a friend who does not eat bacon or pork because he thinks they're equivalent to like dog intelligence.
Okay. I could see why someone would do that, I think.
Yeah, me too.
Because that's where most people draw the line with meat anyway. People say, oh, fish isn't very intelligent. We can eat fish.
There are some people who I've just seen fish treated like less than animal, almost like a somewhere in between plant, fungi, and animal. I don't like the way a lot of industries and a lot of individuals treat fish. I've been over to some people's houses and I've just seen like fish in their fish tanks that are just, it's so cloudy with just like algae, and they don't take care of it, and it's just like, it's just a fish, and it's just like, come on, man, it's a living thing. I hate seeing that. But anyways, let's get back to, I have Mushroom Observer here in my notes. And if you want to go over, well, you've heard about that or seen Mushroom Observer links, have you not?
Yep.
And what was the biggest turnoff about it? Because I think I'm about to suggest to people that it's a great resource and everybody should use it, but we can go into why it's intimidating if you want.
Yeah. So the first time I went on, it just seemed like there was a lot of information there, but it didn't really like there's a lot of numbers and I wasn't sure what the numbers were for, and it would say like a species and it might say like one other species name, but I wasn't sure what the point of the page was. It seemed like it was just a record of there being a species, but I wasn't sure what I was getting out of it. Does that make sense or accurate?
Yeah, it does. And I think you might be describing those pages that are, I guess it's supposed to be like an overview page, but if you do click that number, I think it should link you to like all the observations of that species.
Oh,
But
okay.
but I mean, it is you know what? There's nothing stopping me from just going to Mushroom Observer and sharing my screen a bit and make a little tutorial. Um, Basically, it took me a few years before I felt comfortable like posting to Mushroom Observer, and the reason I wanted to was because it's an amazing resource. There's tons of mycologists on this site that are just identifying for fun, and they're super smart. So the Facebook identification groups they're another amazing resource. I think it's number 2 or number 1. But
Okay.
mushroomobserver.org is basically a nonprofit. It's run by, no one's making money off the site. They live off donations and just, people who love mushrooms just maintain this
Okay.
site. But
Well, that's definitely a lot more visual than I'm used to seeing. I think I usually wind up there from Google, and I'm never actually intentionally starting out at the main page.
gosh,
So
yeah, they have a search engine where you can
yeah.
type in any kind of species, and then you can filter by observations. You can also type in a keyword like orange. Maybe I was doing orange mushrooms, and if you
Hmm.
choose the comments filter, you would be filtering. You would be filtering by people mentioning the word orange somewhere in these comments. So someone posted this mushroom like Coprodon or Bovista, whatever,
Hmm.
and then this person actually added a comment. And so basically, if you're trying to search for like specific keywords in any conversation on the site, you can filter by this comments function right here.
Okay.
I'm not sure about herbaria or herbarium records. Actually, I guess people who have made official herbarium records in their observations, you can filter by that. Images, I'm not sure if for yeah, I'm gonna guess you're just gonna get images. Let's see what it does. But I mainly use names and locations. Like when I'm trying to find, let's say Xerula, you can look for Xerula mushrooms in. Actually, this is what I go to the advanced search because
Okay.
this way you can get. Well, see, here's my original search. Sorry, orange, the keyword orange in comments, I think. So basically these observations, I'm sure the keyword orange will pop up somewhere if that was my filter. I think I just did images, so that's probably why I'm just getting images.
Okay.
But let's try to go to advanced search, because this way you can search for, like, let's say Xerula, and you should actually try to click on these predetermined um, genera or species names, because
Oh, I got the family wrong. I had said what I thought the family name was earlier, and it wasn't that.
Odemanciella furfuracea. And then you can, these are all like options that people have suggested on the site prior. So it'd be worth it to, like, I think I found, Odemanciella furfuracea. So let's go compare it against other people's findings. But you can also, in advanced search by the observer if you're looking for, like, let's say Alan Rockefeller's observations.
Mhm.
Or if you just want to find this mushroom in like Mexico or Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm from, or something. Um, and then content, you can also put in extra keywords like Brown or Atlanta, and it'll try to find observations in this location that contains these keywords. So you can get pretty fancy. I would
Okay.
highly recommend. But yeah, just mushroomobserver.org. It's an amazing resource if you want like a really, basically with mushroom identification, it's about as many opinions as you can possibly get. So take your ID request to Facebook, take it to Mushroom Observer, and just try to get as many opinions as you can. Like, use all of these resources. And hey, this is Atlanta, Georgia. What's up?
Oh,
Armillaria. Honey mushrooms.
those are the honey mushrooms that people usually say are the honey mushrooms that we have here.
Oh, but it's Armillaria. Wait,
Astoye is the one that we have here.
check it out. Oh yeah, like that?
AE at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, we have Melia and we have the ringless. Are these the ringless honey mushrooms? We have two in the southeast, I think. All right, we'll give it a second to load.
It's basically, I think it's called the dark honey mushroom or something like that. It's just a bit more brown than yellow.
Oh, wow, yeah. It's got a really dark stem I'm not used to seeing.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Oh, we're filtered under images. Let's do just observations, and that'll just generally show all the observations. See, like this observation is not even a mushroom, you see, which has caused some controversy on the site. It's like, should you be posting observations that you don't have pictures of? And it's like, well, this guy is basically saying he observed Armillaria ostoye. These are spore dimensions and data from literature.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, this is, where else are you going to share this data? So I'm not exactly upset about this observation. It's useful. I mean, I've even seen people holding mushrooms, smiling in these observations. It doesn't matter. But wow, yeah, this is really cool. These are like chunkier than what we have here.
I don't know. I don't know about chunky, but they get in really big clusters. That's for sure. You'll never see two of them together.
Yeah, they're I guess it's called gregarious. They like to grow gregariously in groups, and if they're solitary, I mean, most people know what that word means.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, people aren't sure if this is a solidipes or a different type of honey mushroom. Very interesting. So I definitely wanted to just show the viewers how Mushroom Observer kind of works, because it took me a couple years to get over the intimidating interface. I do think they can update this a bit to make it look more modern and, for average users to submit their pictures, but don't be afraid to jump around on the site. I mean, it's super useful, super useful.
Well, to be honest, I take back a few of my comments because it was, I don't think I've ever been to just the homepage before and just decided to look into the search bar. I look up a species in particular and then I wind up in a particular observation for that one species or something, and then I get confused.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand why, and that's why I kind of wanted to show anybody who's watching like a quick rundown of it, because it's super simple, actually. Just gotta get over the 90s looking interface, really. So that was Mushroom Observer. What we got? So the health benefits of chaga and reishi. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, may as well. I'm
mentioned-
drinking chaga tea right now, just for the record.
Nice. Nice. So
Yeah.
I mentioned chaga and reishi, but I'm actually trying to go over the most medicinal mushrooms, or maybe it is just the polypores that are really woody, that are supposedly containing tons of polysaccharides, which are supposed to benefit you. But if you're really like a sciencey type of person, or data oriented, let's say, these mushrooms, I personally believe that they probably benefit you in ways that science hasn't proven necessarily yet. But to me,
I agree.
if a plant or a mushroom that's been being consumed as a food or medicine for hundreds of thousands of years, or hundreds if not thousands, then I think there's got to be some validity to it. It's not scientific, it's sort of a hunch, but I mean, I think there's a reason why people pay a lot of money in buying this stuff in the form of supplements, that I think there's something there. But
Yeah.
It's if you want to speak on about it a little bit.
I wonder if it's mostly to do with gut flora. Just
Yeah.
I don't that's probably an area of science I understand the least, and that's where my hunches led me. I think
Why do
I think
you?
a lot of the time they just feed the good bacteria in your stomach, and then the bacteria might fight off viruses or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they claim that it's immunomodulatory, that
Mm.
it'll help you become resistant, keep your immune system up. Like I think all that's true because I think it's just simply based off that people have been taking it for a while. What always has blown my mind is, have you heard of ayahuasca?
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, apparently people in the Amazon, supposedly uneducated savages, figured out that if you combine this root and this root into a and put it into a tea,
Mm.
that it makes you go visit other planets or whatever. It just puts you into a spiritual trance-like state. And if you ask them how they figured it out, because you can't use just one root and one root, you have
Mm.
to use you can't use them separately. They have to be put together.
Mm.
And if you ask those Amazonians how they figured that out, they say that the spirits told them. So, I mean, that's just a testament to like native peoples like knowing somehow without science how these plants and mushrooms function in the body.
I think it would have been a big enough coincidence if it happened here where I live, and we might only have maybe a few hundred species of plants in my province, but in the Amazon they would have tens of thousands of species of plants. So it's just even more strange that they would land on that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Because the way it works, I guess in our Western scientific biological understanding, one of the plants in the ayahuasca mixture is an MAOI, or it is a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, which is an enzyme that's supposed to break down certain chemicals in your gut. So if you just try to consume the DMT on its own, the monoamine oxidase is going to just burn it. Your gut is going to destroy it. So you have to consume this root that gets rid of the inhibitor. It's called an MAOI, monoamine oxidase inhibitor. So it has to be taken in conjunction, otherwise the plant medicine doesn't work. So I mean, in a forest of tens of thousands of different plant species, like how do you just coincidentally figure that out? Um,
And if you ask them to find a certain plant, they would know what plant it is too, probably.
yeah,
You
yeah.
always hear like people going on scientific expeditions, or I think there was a lichen recently that was hallucinogenic, and scientists went down there trying to get some tribesman to find it for him, and he actually did come back with it. And I don't think they had known like the traditional name of it or anything. They just told him, "Oh, it's a lichen and it does this," and he came. It took him a while, I think, but I think he did come back with it, and they did their genetic test with it.
Oh, did they? Did they get
Yeah,
a genetic sequence out of it?
I think they did. I think they definitely determined that there is a hallucinogenic lichen somewhere in the world. I think it's like orange colored.
That's
Um,
so cool. I did hear about a hallucinogenic lichen, but
hmm.
I never dived into how it was found or where.
I think it's been known for quite a while, but it was just like a name on a museum shelf for like 30 years, and then they realized that they already possessed it, but then they needed more samples or something.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, just crazy stuff. There's so much we don't know, so much lost information.
Hmm.
Uh, it's unfortunate because especially with the Amazon right now, they're mowing it down, and there's efforts from people who actually give a shit to try to preserve as much knowledge, try to preserve the culture as much as possible. I know there were some Westerners actually going to some certain tribes and telling them that they should record, they should write down in physical books like their plant medicines, their culture and history, and because it's about to basically get wiped out. And the tribesmen were just like, yeah, we understand this, and that's why we have elders actually writing books down, writing information about the knowledge that we have, because it's gonna go away, unfortunately.
That is a really sad story, and I never heard that one.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty sad. Um, but that is the world we currently live in. It is up to individuals to rally folks and stop shit like that from happening if we have any power to. So that's our tangent from
Mhm.
the medicinal benefits of mushrooms, the medicinal mushroom
Yes.
industry. All right. Have you ever found morels? I know you're basically 2 years as a mushroomer.
I have not. I basically took my first hunt of the season 2 days ago, and I didn't really find anything yet. I'm going to give it at least 3 or 4 days before I go back and check the spot again, just in case I step on them while they're growing or something and show up too often.
Yeah, that's cool. I found my first maybe 3 years ago. I'd actually never really gone on a hunt, and I guess I was blessed to find some on my very first hunt.
That's like my lion's mane story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
feels crazy when it actually happens.
Mm.
Um, I'm just gonna pull up some Morchella observations on a mushroom observer. Should be
So
there.
how would you say the flavor of a morel is?
Um, Dank, but
Dank? Okay.
like they're really meaty in texture, so it's like full of substance, which is really nice. It's a nice texture in your mouth. I think people describe like a beefy type of meaty, savory. We actually made stuffed morels with like Parmesan and marinara sauce, and it was
Nice.
bread. Like it was delicious. It was fantastic.
I think from the guides I've seen, we've got Morchella elata and Esculenta, but I'm not sure if that's the actual species or somewhere in the clade.
Yeah, when it gets to clades, I'm still iffy on what exactly a clade is, as opposed to like a species complex. Like I've heard both of those terms, and at some point, I'm sort of just like, well,
I think I've been using them interchangeably when I shouldn't be.
yeah, probably good to look up what those mean. So
Yeah.
I'm searching for Morchella, found in Nova Scotia, and it says no observations. Don't. So I think actually they want you to choose the predetermined locations. I guess what is this? Halifax, Nova Scotia.
That might be too specific if you pick Halifax. I'm not sure if that would just pick that city.
These are very specific.
Oh, not sure. If there's anything that says a county, that might get you bigger results. Actually, just say Halifax, because Halifax is also a county, and I was originally avoiding it because HAL.
Halifax, like that horse in
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Okay, I guess that's a typo. It says Halifax. See that? Let's just check that out. See if anybody's found any more Chella. Yeah. Nope. Unfortunately.
Maybe I don't feel so bad. I have been told that they are around though from some people, but they haven't really sent me pictures to prove it yet.
See, what I would do next, go to Facebook and try the same type of search.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, man, I found my first morels on my first time trying. It felt like a cheat code or something. But I actually haven't really had much luck this year, but I also haven't really gone out too much this year.
Okay.
But for me, because it's all sort of kind of like hearsay about where they grow and how to find them. It's like, oh, these certain trees, and it has to be nearby water, and it's got to be blah blah blah. But that same girl who's into truffles, Jasmine,
Mm-hmm.
she actually pointed out she wanted me to cut this part of the video because it was actually not substantive enough for her to speak about it publicly. But she thinks that they're a mixture of mycorrhizal and there's like three types of mushrooms: the mycorrhizal, the kind that just feed on
Saprotrophic.
saprotrophic and
Yeah.
parasitic. She
Okay.
she was basically saying she has a hunch that morels are actually sort of a mixture of all three, or if not two of the three.
Okay.
but she wasn't confident enough to actually talk about it publicly. So I did cut that part out of the video. But she's just, mushrooms are still a mystery for a lot of people. So I think it's just as valid a hunch as
Mhm.
anything else, really. But I did find morels on like a downed tree more than once. I found them sort of on like a dead tree stump, almost growing,
Oh, really?
almost growing directly off of the trees. Yeah, I actually have a small video of a morel that was basically growing off of like a wood chip, and whether or not it was actually feeding on the wood chip or if it just happened to envelop the wood chip in its growth, I still don't know. But there's just so many different, like it's hard to say what morels actually, how they actually grow. I
Yeah.
guess that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of people that have figured out how to grow them, but they're not really giving up their secrets yet, I don't think.
I have seen people selling like morel grow kits or something, or like how-to courses or something. But I've always been like suspicious of those because I I have seen people try to establish a morel grow operation in their backyard by
Mhm.
actually just transplanting like soils that are known to have morels and try to focus it around this dead tree stump. And I don't think anything's come from it. And I don't think I would not buy personally. I would not buy courses or morel grow kits. I think that's a scam. I'm not sure though.
Mhm. Yeah, there definitely could be one that knows what they're doing, but you wouldn't want to expect to find them on their first purchase.
There was I did hear from my buddy Jacob Polk. If you're watching, what's up, man? It's been a couple years. Let's reconnect. But he did mention Morchella rufo brunea was actually successfully being cultivated in China. Um,
Okay.
but they're like the least desirable morel. They're like really sandy and gritty.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a few mushrooms I seem to get almost excited about, and then I realize they're the worst of the genus or something.
But yeah, so the Morchella rufibranea, it's not palatable apparently, and it's coming from China. And if you know anything about Chinese like supplements or Chinese exports, you're not supposed to be. Just a lot of them contain heavy metals and other
Mhm.
toxins. And go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, yeah, like mushrooms they absorb a lot of pollution from the area they're around. So if there's a lot of bad areas of China that are, I think they're cutting back on the smog and stuff, but it's still probably residual from 20 years ago.
And I don't know if you're talking about how recently, but I mean with the virus and the global shutdown, it's actually cleaned up the environment a bit, and there's less pollution. Um,
I wasn't specifically talking recently, but I think just even in the last 5 years, it's been like it's not perfect over there yet, but they can actually go outside and see a kilometer ahead of them in the cities or something without the smog completely blocking their vision.
okay.
I'm pretty sure it was pretty bad before.
They're one of the biggest polluters, so I really hope they do turn that around somehow.
Mm.
But yeah, mushrooms are bioaccumulators, as they say, along with hemp, because a lot of the CBD
Really?
products were like I used to work at an organic health food store, so it's like when CBD was hot, or it still is hot down here,
Mm.
but we would have to teach people like organic CBD means that the soil is organic, which means that it is proven to not have like toxins and heavy metals and stuff because hemp is a bioaccumulator and it could get into the CBD products after the fact. But mushrooms, I think, are even worse bioaccumulators because
Mhm.
they grow so fast and their flesh is, I guess, probably more porous
Mm.
for lack of a better word. But I'm guessing they probably would carry more
Mm.
heavy metals for sure, toxins or whatever is around. So definitely go to the deeper forest if you're
Mm.
finding a mushroom.
There's two in particular that people raise red flags about. If you were to just pick an agaricus mushroom off your lawn, those are generally, I think they accumulate arsenic as well as a Lacaria amethystina. I think that one also bioaccumulates arsenic as well. And I think if you live close to a gold mine, it's recommended that you don't pick from there.
Interesting.
Yeah, because
There-
I guess gold occurs in the same deposits as arsenic. So if you're around the gold, you're around the arsenic.
That is very interesting. I did not know that.
I think it's mostly just mined gold mines, though. I think if you were to just be near a seam, I think you'd be okay. But once it's been like exposed to the water table and everything, it gets everywhere.
Gotcha. I've actually consumed a Lacaria amethystina one time years ago when I was first getting into mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
I was out with a buddy and we found some, took it home, got it identified, and we're like, hey, it's edible. And so we fried it up, and that was fun. But hopefully, I did not consume any arsenic that is still lingering.
You're probably fine.
Yeah, it was in a.
How did that taste, by the way? I've never had a Lacaria.
Actually, just pretty regular mushroomy type of flavor.
Yeah.
It was
Their stem looks woody. Was that?
Maybe a little chewy. Maybe it was the stem that was chewy.
Okay.
It's been a while, but it was good. I would definitely. It'd be worth trying.
I'll try one, I think.
We have a friend that just found his first chicken of the woods, Latiparus cincinnatus.
Oh, nice.
He brought us over some, and we turned them into, I guess, like the equivalent of buffalo wings, but mushroom, and it was really good. It was really good.
That is on my elusive list. I've found hen of the woods, but I haven't found chicken of the woods yet, so
nice.
Yet to try that.
It's really good eating. I will say that. All right. What else we got here? I'm probably gonna let you go if you wanna kind of get some closing comments, or if you want.
Just end with a shout out or two, I guess.
Yeah, we could do that.
Just wanted to just mention Amateur Mycologist on Twitter. He's a really good guy. Okay. And there's another guy called Myco Pals, and check them both out, basically. Amateur Mycologist does very similar things to me. He likes to identify mushrooms, or he gets other people to send him their mushrooms, and he'll share them for them just so that they get seen more. And Myco Pals has a online mushroom store and blog where he sells lion's mane and I think a few other ones, but I'm not sure what his whole inventory is.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I will. I may link them in the YouTube description.
Awesome.
Those are two pretty good shout outs. Again, follow this guy, Ben Kendrick. And what's your handle? What's your handle?
Fungi with Benji.
Fungi with Benji. Fungi with Ben Guy?
Yeah, either way you want it. Okay. That applies to Twitter and Instagram, but I barely use Instagram, so just stick with Twitter.
Gotcha. And this is going to go up on my YouTube channel, Fungi Flora. I still have to probably set up a podcast channels, but for now, YouTube is where this will live. And so subscribe to Fungi Flora on YouTube, if you will. That would be amazing. I'm also on Twitter. Twitter is probably my favorite platform where I'm most active right now. My handle is at GPJFORS. GPJ and then the word force. I probably should just get a name.
That sounds right.
But my name's John Forsyth, so search both, but I'll link them anyways. So give us a follow. Shout out to Amateur Mycologist and Myco Pals. Go give them a follow too if you're trying to learn about mushrooms. And thank you, Ben, for being here. This was fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I would like to do it again down the line. All right, man. You have a good day. Take care of yourself. And say goodbye.
All right. Peace, guys.
See ya.
Happy hunting.